Okay, this is going to be a possibly sleep-deprived weekly recap from the 9th of January to the 13th. And yeah, I'm doing this on, I guess, now Monday, but it's going to be Martin Luther King Day, so the market is going to be closed. This is going to be a weekly recap, and I really look forward to going over this because I don't like how I had this nice trade here and I made 166 bucks, but basically all of the setups that I traded besides that didn't work out. This one did work out, but there was just one other trade where the setup actually worked out and I ended up losing on this one. I really look forward to seeing how each trade was one by one. It seems like 75% of my trades, which in this case, I didn't include this trade in the stats for this section because this is a swing trade. And yeah, 75% of the setups I had broke my risk level in the first 10 minutes. And then 87% of it broke it within the first hour. And then by midday, just about half of the setups were under the risk level. And yeah, it seems like at the same time, though, 50% of my trades eventually hit the goal. So that seems really interesting. Let's go over the trades one by one, starting with DIDIY on the knife, which is going to be right here. And let me actually remove this trend line right here, if it lets me. I guess not. All right, let's go ahead and look at the knife, which is going to be way back here. Now I can remove this one. I was in at 9:32 a.m. at 497 and a half, and this was a morning spike, previous day high breakout. So let's look at 9:32. Right here, I was in it at 9:32 at 497 and a half. So why was I in it? Well, I was in it because the previous day, as you can see here, the high was 495. So we were already opening above 495. At least we were breaking past it in the morning. I was in it for that reason. And then we have that nice level of $5 that it could break above. And then if we break above $5, I think 505 was a very big resistance level, but it never got above 5. I think it actually did get above 5 pre-market. If this was the right chart, yeah, it was already above 5, I think. I don't know, maybe I had the wrong day in mind. But anyway, very simple idea. Above the previous day high of 495, right here at the open, looking strong, nice uptrend, and then the idea it could break above 5 and continue the uptrend. I did get out of this one 934, and this was at 499.4, so 934 was right here at 499.4. So I must have gotten out of it because I didn't like something about the price action. I don't really like how I just sold right here. Let me just see if my note said something obvious. Yeah, I don't think I traded this one perhaps as well as I could have. I must have saw something in the price action that was really bad, but generally with these type of setups, I'm not gonna really cut it unless it looks like it's going to break my risk level, which in this case would have been VWAP. And it did have like an ugly candle here. Maybe I try to get out of the trade once it looked like it was going to break under it, and it didn't, and I just had a good sell in the 499s. That might have been the situation with that. It didn't really work out, but if I was trying to sell because it looked like it was going to break VWAP, I think I did this one fine. If I just sold because, I didn't like the price action or something, but it didn't really look like it was going to break under VWAP, which is my risk level with morning spike setups, then I didn't trade that well. So I'm assuming I traded it well just because I put that I did for this first trade right here. Let's look at DIDIY a bit later in the day, and this was a reversal long setup. I was in at 945 at 479 and a half. So 945 was right here, and I was in at 479 and a half. So I was in it right here because it was starting to downtrend. It didn't work out. It got well below VWAP, and then I thought it was trying to turn around right here, which is why I entered at 479. I did get out of this one the next minute at 476. So I got out of it at 476, maybe because it looked like it was going to break the day low, which was 470. Yeah, it seems like 475, and I just had to sell right there. It did downtrend a bit more, but it then eventually turned around, and that one sucked because I missed out on the setup. Yeah, this was a setup that didn't work right when I tried, but it did work out later, and it made a nice move all the way to VWAP. So yeah, pretty good. You know, setup where maybe I could have been in at 478 and it gets to the 490s. That would have been pretty profitable, especially because I was trading 100 shares right here. Yeah, definitely. I hate being on the right track and not profitable. Didn't get the ultimate bottom. Let's look at DIDIY again now at 10 o'clock at 474.5, and this was now a double bottom. So let's look at 1009 specifically, 474.5. So I was in it right here, and I got in it because it looks like a double bottom. Here's the downtrend right, the bottom, and then I missed the ultimate bounce, but you know, it came back around the level, looks like a double bottom, and I was in it. For that reason, I got out at 1013 at 475, and this one I'm fine with. I got out of it at 475 because it had this freaky, ugly price action, and you can see how I had an uptrend right here, and then the next candle, it had another uptrend, and then it just went all the way back, and I just didn't like how that was trading, so I got out of this one. Yeah, this setup did not work out. Never really bounced and made a move towards VWAP. Instead, it did break the range low and the day low. You know, not too much afterwards, and I'm happy with the way I traded that one. It just had really, really ugly price action. Let's look at KNOS on the 10th. Okay, nothing really crazy, just first potential green day ideally. Make an option for more than just one day, and it didn't really, I guess I did one more day, but it didn't really do that much. At least right now, maybe you can try to do something a bit later. The 10th is right here. I was at 944 at 174, and this was a bull flag dip under VWAP. So let's look at 944. 944 was going to be right here at 174. So not the best entry. I got in at the very top of the wick, but essentially first green day morning spike right here, and it had a gap up, and I like how it was starting to sell off, and then it got to the VWAP level, and then I got in right when it looks like it was going to turn around at the very top at 174, and I did get out of this one. This one sucked. 948 at 1610. So 948 was right here at 1610, and this was kind of hard because my risk level was VWAP, but then this was a dip under VWAP, so I didn't think I had the right risk level. But you know, with an entry at 174, I could have been in at a better price, hindsight 2020, in the 160s, and I didn't like the idea of risking 14.7, the bottom here, because it was just a very wide spread. So maybe it could have made my risk level perhaps 16 breaking, or maybe this channel right here, this 156 level, and then you know I would have had the ability to continue to hold on to this setup, and I would have been profitable because I did get as high as 19. Very low float stock, at least the way it trades. How the prices move very easily. Let's see what a sell at 18.4 would have been. Again, with that bad entry at 174. Yeah, it would have been $5. And if I had like a better entry, right? Okay, I did that totally wrong. And yeah, it would have been close to a 10% move. So I clearly could have done this one better. I just didn't have a proper risk level right here. It should have been something where, again, if this was a little too much, I could have made it right here at the bottom of these two candles, with a round number of 16 breaking under once it was already past it, once it was no longer downtrending under that level. Yeah, this one could have been a lot better. I'm glad that I see things that I could do better. Let's look at AABB on the 11th. 11th is going to be right here. Nothing too significant other than the fact that what I guess is trying to uptrend. It's not really too crazy. Let's see why I traded this one in particular. Oh, I think I know why. This thing was very similar to KNOS, although not as nice, but this one also had news, and it had a bit of a gap up as well. It just really didn't do all that nice. Not as nice as KNOS, but you're going to see how it's a very similar setup. I got in at 939 at 35, and this was a dip under VWAP after morning spike. So 939, 35. So right around here at 930, what was it, 939? Yeah, right here, this green candle. Let me zoom in some more. I got in at 35, and let me do that. I got in at right here. Why? Very similar to KNOS, but not as nice. And it did have a morning spike, not the best price action. And then once it went down under VWAP, and it was showing signs that it was trying to bottom, and then maybe it could do something like KNOS, which in this case I didn't call it as a bull flag. It's just too ugly. This was just a dip under VWAP after having a morning spike. I wanted to see it get to VWAP and above VWAP. I got out at 940 at 35.20. So 940 was right here at 35.20, and I like how, it jumped, I guess, but it wasn't really that much price action going on. And then it just sold off and went under VWAP again. And then when it looked like, I think the 35 level was going to potentially break, yeah, a very large seller appeared at the ask. I got out. So again, I got in it right here. It did get above VWAP, and then a big seller showed up, and then I placed a sell order immediately. This was a good try. This setup didn't work out, and I traded this one well. Let's look at Rivian. This is the swing trade setup, although I only held for, I guess, overnight, essentially. Let's look at Rivian, although I did get in at 110, it's right here, January the 10th. Yeah, let's take a look at Rivian. Okay, so let's try to get multiple days. And here's the 10th, but I'm going to have to show the 11th as well. I guess we'll do it from here because it's kind of very wide, but I essentially got in it. It doesn't really show all too well right here, but I did ultimately get in this setup once we had like a higher low. Big sell off from the 31s, and then it got as low as 16. And then it did something where you can see it kind of uptrended right here, right? And then it made a bottom at some point where it looks like a higher low. I can't really explain it because it doesn't really seem like this, at least looking at it using this chart. But I did get in this because I thought that it was going to potentially try to uptrend over a longer period of time. And I was in at 110, which was January the 10th right here. And let me try to highlight both of the days if that's possible. Right here. I got in right before the after hours closed, and my average was 1648 and a half with two brokers. Right here is when I got in at 1648 roughly, and I liked how this was very nice, and that's, I think it was maybe because it was playing under the $16 level. I think it had like a bottom right here below 16, and then it looked like it was trying to hold around 16, and you can see right here it tried here and it bounced. And then we had this, I like this. I like how we had this big wick right here. A whole bunch of volume got wiped out, maybe a bunch of stop losses, and this thing never broke below 16. So then the idea was is that I'm in it, with 16 as my risk level after selling off for a very long period of time and not looking too overvalued, at least compared to Tesla, potentially. And then I'm in it for that reason right here with that risk level of 16 breaking, and it could try to make a move towards the upside. I'm not saying this thing is undervalued and it should go to 80 or something crazy like that, but I just figured that not all stocks that are going to sell off drastically are just going to downtrend. It's going to be bounces along the way, especially short sellers jumping on top of each other and tripping over or exploding. So that was the thesis around this setup right here. I did miss another opportunity to trade the same setup, the next day. Not as nice as this one, but still could have done better. I did get out of my last piece at 9:59 a.m. and 17:31 was my average. So 9:59. I guess I'll do it from right here since this is when I entered. And I got out already right here. So 9:59 is when I got out. It seems like. Although I feel like I had a much better exit. Let me look at my notes and make sure if this is the right point when I got out of my last position. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, I had the wrong time. So I do have this 9:59 level when I did sell a portion of my position. But this was my entire position on Schwab. And then the other piece was at 10:12 right here. As you can see with Fidelity. So this is when I actually sold at 10:12. So 10:12 was, yeah, it was at the very top. I was very happy with the way I traded this one using trend lines and everything. And if you look at the day where I had this trade, the video I published, I went over why I sold, where I did, and it worked out very nicely. I'm actually really happy with the way I traded this one. And I hope I can continue to do stuff like that. And I'm very thankful that the next day was a very similar setup. And I didn't trade it, but I'm glad it was still something I could have traded. This was nerve-wracking, because I had like a $3,200 position. Even if it is a listed stock, that's not as crazy as a OTC. I didn't like how it was, going to be something where, it was already looking like it was going to, unideally break my risk level and, get under 16. But it did hold itself, and I'm glad I didn't, try to, be cheeky and say, oh, it's going to break my risk level anyway. Let me just cut here and not lose as much. Because that would have been really bad. This thing really worked out. Very nice move towards the upside. I'm still interested in trading this, but I don't like how we had this day right here, and it broke under the 16 level, even if it was just a little bit below this previous day right here when it got below 16 at 1584. I want to see it now put up like a higher low before I consider entering another setup, another swing position. Let's look at DIDY on the 13th. 13th is going to be right here. And I'm going to remove that trend line eventually. Actually, no, this is just a crazy wick. I don't know why this stock does that where it just has like a random print super low and it messes up the entire chart. I was in at 933 at 496 and a half, and this was a morning spike. VWAP breakout towards multi-day high. So this might have been the setup that I was talking about, but I got confused because it wasn't above $5. This is the one where it was trading above $5 pre-market, and it did have this day right here, 505. So I was thinking that it was going to, break past VWAP, get to the $5 level, and then try the multi-day highs, especially when it was already doing it pre-market. All we needed was news, and I think it could have worked out, but it didn't. Let me try to zoom in a bit more, but just keep in mind it just sold off the rest of the day, and there's no real point of having pre-market there. But I was in it at 933 right here, and that was again at 496 and a half. And unfortunately, I was just wrong. I thought this thing closed above VWAP, but sometimes VWAP adjusts itself once you refresh charts, and in this case, it wasn't actually a close above VWAP, it was just a close at the VWAP level. And I thought that it was closing above VWAP, right in the morning, and it was going to continue the option and again try those highs, that $5 level and above. I got out 935. I kind of gave this one more time because after I had that previous trade that really worked out with Rivian, I decided to just take things more, I I guess not being afraid to lose money because I gave it its chance. At 935 I was out at 492, which was right here. And why did I get out? Because it closed under VWAP. Essentially the next candle, closed, and then right here when it opened, it was well below VWAP, and I got out of the trade and it sold off, so that was a good try. It just didn't work out. Let's look at Rivian on the 11th. 11th is right here. It was this day. Yeah, very similar setup to the previous day where I had like a morning panic and then it found the bottom all the way to the 17s again. Really, really sucks that I missed out on this one right here. I did try two other setups. A morning panic bounce play. I'm starting to think that I had the wrong, I think this is the wrong chart. Let me just take a look. Yeah, this was on the 13th. Okay, I totally had the wrong day right there. I mean, it looks like the chart where I missed out, right? But, you know, I traded this when it was selling off. I just remember the trades I had. It was none of these right here. This was it right here when I traded it. And these were both morning panic bounce plays. So let's look at the first one at 9:43. I was in at, yeah, 1639 and a half. So 9:43 was right here and right here at this 16 level right here. 16, let me be specific. 1639 and 9:43. What did I get in this? And why is my voice already dying? I was in it right here because it looks like a potential morning panic bounce play. I liked how I had all these wicks right here and it was trying to, in theory, bottom around this level, the 1640s, and then ideally it can try to make a move towards the upside and then get, you know, above VWAP. And this one didn't really do it. This one took longer to sell off, but this one eventually did do a bounce. I just missed out. I got out 944 at 1636, which was right here because it was looking like it was going to break below the day low, which it did do, and I'm glad I cut the trade right there and I didn't try to bag hold it because it did sell off a bunch more. And that was one attempt for a bounce setup, and then I traded one more time, 956 at 1603, which was right here, 956, 1603. This time I got in not at the best price, a bit of a chase, but I essentially thought it's already been uptrending these past few candles. Nice green candle, something that hasn't really been too consistent now, the third green candle. And I had a very aggressive trend line because I figured I'm not in at the best point, so it has to work right when I'm in it. Otherwise, I'm going to cut it, and it just wasn't the ultimate bottom. I got out at 958 at 1599 and a half, so right here at 958. Once it broke past the trend line that I had right here, yeah, it sold off some more. It got to the day low, but it did eventually turn around, and that's, yeah, that one sucked because it worked out. I just wasn't a part of it. But in theory, if I was in maybe at, let's just say I'm in it right here at 1607 because it's breaking the top of these two candles, especially this one right here, this range, and I'm in at 1607. Let's see what this would have been. Maybe an entry at 1607, and then I would have sold maybe if I had like a trend line going on. I guess since I'm in it on this breakout, I'm going to use something like this. Extend it to the right. Would have been out of it maybe at 1640. Let's see what that would have been. Yeah, that would have been nice, and it would have made back basically all of my losses for the week right there. And a little bit of a gain on top of that. That's pretty much it for this weekly recap right here. I look forward to really rewatching it because it's one thing to make it and another thing to actually just sit back and watch it and see what I could have done better. But it seems like I just have to keep trying. You know, some of the setups don't work at all, but then there were some where I just wasn't able to get the ultimate bottom like this one right here. There's definitely a lot of room for improvement, it feels like. And yeah, I have a long way to go. This is it for this weekly recap right here.